world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel strikes in the heart of Beirut, targeting health center affiliated with Hezbollah. Suburb of Dahieh also hit. G7 hopeful for diplomatic solution in the region. Thousands in southeastern U.S. reel without water and power days after Helene's destruction. Biden and Harris survey storm damage in key election states. Search and rescue ops continue. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat completes 10 years. The program continues to inspire, educate and enthrall millions. Hindus across the world celebrate Sharadiya Navratri for 9 days to mark Goddess Durga's hard-fought battle over demon Mahishasur. Devotees worship Ma Durga and her 9 avatars with prayers, fasting and special foods. Well, on to the details now. Israel launched an airstrike early on Thursday morning, targeting the health authorities center affiliated with Hezbollah, killing 6 people. Israeli military said it conducted precise strikes in central Beirut's Bachora neighborhood close to parliament. The nearest Israeli strikes have come to Lebanon's seat of government. At least 6 people were killed and 7 wounded in the strikes. While 3 missiles also hit the southern suburb of Dahieh, where Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed last week. This comes a day after Iran fired over 180 missiles into Israel, drawing condemnation and even stringent retaliation from Tel Aviv. And meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden said on Wednesday he would not support any Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear sites in response to its ballistic missile attack. However, he urged Israel to act proportionally against its regional arch foe. Biden talked to G7 leaders who said they are still hopeful for diplomatic solution in West Asia.
I called a meeting of the G7 today. We're working on a joint statement all of us agree on. From Japan to France to Germany to etc. We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Well, UK Defence Minister John Healey spoke to Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant to express total condemnation of Iran's massive missile attack against Israel. In a social media post, Healey said, and I quote, "I set out the UK's continuing steadfast commitment to Israel's security. We must avoid further escalation and ensure an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon and Gaza." Meanwhile, the Gulf Cooperation Council has affirmed its support for Lebanon during such a critical stage. It also called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip late on Wednesday after holding an extraordinary ministerial meeting in Doha. The meeting was held to discuss the latest regional developments. The Council also condemned the escalation of conflict in Lebanon and the occupied Palestinian territories, calling on all involved parties to exercise self-restraint and refrain from violence. And various countries, including the US, the UK, Germany, Spain and Slovakia, continue to evacuate their citizens from Lebanon to evade the escalating crisis. A charter flight taking British citizens out of Lebanon arrived at Birmingham International Airport on Wednesday. Earlier in the day, British Foreign Minister David Lammy said that more such flights were planned in the coming days. Britain has urged nationals to leave Lebanon immediately. Germany, too, continued its evacuation of non-essential staff and vulnerable citizens from Lebanon. Germany's Airbus arrived in Beirut with 5 tons of relief supplies and will bring back 130 particularly vulnerable Germans. The German Foreign Ministry raised its crisis level for missions in Beirut, Ramallah and Tel Aviv again at the weekend, though the embassies there remain operational. There are currently 1,800 registered German citizens in Lebanon, of which some 110 people were evacuated on Monday. The United States too organized a flight that carried about 100 American citizens and their relatives out of Lebanon. Besides, Spain and Slovakia are also preparing evacuation of its citizens and other EU nationals using military plane. And in a latest update in Russia-Ukraine conflicts, a Russian-guided bomb struck a high-rise apartment block in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, late on Wednesday. Regional governor said that the bomb struck between the 3rd and 4th floors of the building located in the Saltivka district and also had injured at least 10 people. In light of the ongoing attacks, President Vladimir Zelensky emphasized the need for increased assistance from Ukraine's Western allies. Earlier, Russian drones have also attacked a port infrastructure in Ukraine's southern Odessa region, damaging a grain facility and building at a border crossing to Romania, officials said. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Wednesday that Russia has dismissed the possibility of nuclear talks with the United States, citing Washington's stance on NATO expansion.
In order for Washington to reconsider its extremely hostile anti-Russian course, a conversation with the US on strategic issues, including nuclear arms control, is meaningless for Russia. Moreover, it is simply counterproductive. In the long term, we see no point in the strategic dialogue with Washington outside of comprehensive work on general reduction of the level of conflict in relations, with respect for the Russia's fundamental interest and with an emphasis on eliminating the fundamental contradictions in the field of security created by the United States of America and NATO.
Well, on the other hand, Russian troops have taken complete control of the eastern city of Vuhledar, which Ukrainian forces have been defending since the beginning of Moscow's full-scale invasion 2.5 years ago. Ukraine's Eastern Military Command confirmed on Wednesday that Ukrainian troops received an order to pull back troops from the embattled eastern hilltop town of Vuhledar to avoid encirclement by Russian troops.
After sustaining many losses in long-lasting battles, the enemy did not give up the attempts to capture Volda. Trying to take control over the town at any cost, it managed to direct reserve forces to perform flank strikes that tired out Ukraine's armed forces units. As a result of the enemy's actions, a threat of besiegement arose. Senior command granted permission to carry out a maneuver to withdraw units from Volda in order to preserve personnel and military equipment and to take positions for further actions.
Well, 6 days after Hurricane Helene slammed into Florida and carved a destructive path through much of the U.S. southeast, killing more than 160 people. The latest death toll makes Helene the U.S. mainland's second deadliest tropical storm since 2000, behind Hurricane Katrina. The scale of its destruction continues to expand with each passing day. The powerful storm inundated the western part of the state with catastrophic flooding, destroying pipes, damaging water plants and cutting off power. Tens of thousands of North Carolina residents remained without running water on Wednesday. About 1.2 million homes and businesses across multiple states remained without electricity. Search and rescue teams continue to comb through wreckage for the missing and deliver water, food and aid to the residents. In the United States, President Joe Biden visited South Carolina on Wednesday to assess damage wrought by Hurricane Helene. Biden participated in an aerial tour of the area and met with flood victims. Biden also received an operational briefing in Raleigh. He reaffirmed his commitment to support North Carolina in the wake of destruction from the Hurricane Helene. During a meeting in an operational center in North Carolina, Biden said the nation has your back. Biden pledged to cover 100% of all the cost for debris removal, emergency protective measures for 6 months. President Biden also directed the Department of Defense to move our 1,000 soldiers to reinforce North Carolina's National Guard.
There's a consortium of basically 6 owners that control all the ports from all the way to the East Coast down around the Gulf, and they've made incredible profits, over 800% profit since the pandemic, and the owners are making tens of millions of dollars from this. The last thing they need is to profit off of this. It's time for them to sit at the table and get this strike done.
Well, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Augusta, Georgia on Wednesday following Hurricane Helene to meet with victims and announce federal funds following the storm. She met with government officials and first responders at the Emergency Operations Center, assuring them that local, state and federal resources would be allocated to those in need. Harris announced that the Federal Emergency Management Agency would provide $750 to individuals affected by the disaster and that the federal government would cover 100% of the local recovery cost.
The President and I have been paying close attention from the beginning to what we need to do to make sure the federal resources hit the ground as quickly as possible. And that includes what was necessary to make sure that we provided direct federal assistance. And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. And you can apply now for anyone who's watching this who has been affected.
Well, Tropical Storm John has wreaked havoc on the Mexican beach resort of Acapulco, leaving homes, businesses and roads in ruins. Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, arrived in Acapulco to assess damage caused by Storm John, which recently battered the region with intense winds and heavy rainfall. Sheinbaum visited people affected by the devastating impact of the storm. Last week, Hurricane John dumped massive amounts of rain over Mexico's Pacific coast, causing mudslides and at least 22 deaths. Causing widespread destruction, with beachfront properties flattened and streets submerged in mud and debris. Local residents struggle to salvage their livelihoods. The tropical depression is inching its way southwest. And Taiwan on Thursday girded itself for the arrival of a weakened Typhoon Krathon, which has killed 2 people so far. The island is shut for the consecutive second day, with hundreds of flights grounded and financial markets closed. Krathon is forecast to make landfall around midday at the major southwestern port city of Kaohsiung as a much weaker Category 2 typhoon. The typhoon is forecast to slowly work its way by Taiwan's flat western plain and weaken further into a tropical depression by late Friday. And in Argentina, hundreds of thousands of students protested in the streets on Wednesday against sharp spending cuts at public universities by President Javier Milei's government. The protest came in response to the Milei administration's threat to veto a law passed by Congress several weeks ago to secure university funding. In April, a similar mass demonstration forced Milei to retract the university budget cuts. However, authorities from universities claim that the government failed to follow through on the promised improvements. The University of Buenos Aires, one of the top 100 universities worldwide, has been adversely affected by the cuts. The cuts have impeded these institutions' functioning since Milei assumed office in December. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. Queen Mary of Denmark is on a 4-day trip to Brazil. She visited the Brazilian Amazon to raise awareness on biodiversity, health and possible solutions related to combating environment-related crime. King Charles III and Queen Camilla hosted a reception at St. James Palace in London to celebrate the Commonwealth, ahead of the Commonwealth Head of Governments meeting, which will take place this year in Samoa. And still to come in this edition of TT India Live. US port strike continues, disrupting shipments at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. President Biden urges urgent resolution. In sports, ICC Women's T20 World Cup is all set to begin on Thursday. Host Bangladesh will take on Scotland in the opening game. An annual solar eclipse shines a ring of fire over Easter Island, South America.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat completes 10 years. As it crosses a milestone of a decade, the program continues to inspire, educate and empower millions. Watch this special report by DD India's Tripti Tripathi.
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, नमस्कार।
Since its inception in October 2014, Mann Ki Baat has become a defining platform for direct communication between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the people of India.
बेंगलुरु से सिस्टर सुरेखा जी भी जुड़ी हुई है।
I'm really proud and honored, sir, to speak to Prime Minister of our country.
दिनेश जी नमस्कार।
सर जी प्रणाम।
The journey that started on the festival of Vijayadashmi has changed millions of lives. And since then, every month, millions of listeners tune in to hear Prime Minister's thoughts, ideas and inspirations that touches on a wide range of topics, from rural development and social issues to stories of unsung heroes. Broadcast on Doordarshan and All India Radio, Mann Ki Baat has become more than just a radio program in last 10 years. Whatever work is taking place in the society with a sense of collectiveness, it gets recognition through this radio program.
मन की बात के श्रोता ही इस कार्यक्रम के असली सूत्रधार हैं। मन की बात की 10 वर्ष की यात्रा ने एक ऐसी माला तैयार की है जिसमें हर एपिसोड के साथ नई गाथाएं, नए कीर्तिमान, नए व्यक्तित्व जुड़ जाते हैं।
What started as a simple radio program has now become a radio revolution. Mann Ki Baat reaches the nation in 22 local languages, 29 dialects, and even 12 foreign languages. Inspirational stories have been mentioned over 750 times, cleanliness campaigns around 65 times, women empowerment around 315 times. In April 2023, when the radio program completed its 100th episode, Prime Minister Modi said that any issue which is associated with the show turns into a mass movement.
मेरे लिए मन की बात ये एक कार्यक्रम नहीं है। मेरे लिए एक आस्था, पूजा, व्रत है।
The journey of Mann Ki Baat reflects India's progress and diversity, fostering a sense of unity and collective purpose. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Well, as the festive season approaches, communities across India are bustling with the preparation of Durga Puja, one of the most significant and celebrated festivals for the Hindu community. In fact, the Durga Puja of Kolkata, West Bengal is also now one of the UNESCO heritage property.
lush kashful or wild sugarcane grass swaying in the breeze. Clear skies still waiting for the haze of the winter to settle in. The signs are in the air, loud and clear. Autumn is here, and so are the preparations to invoke and worship the Indian goddess Durga. In fact, arrangements begin months before the festival to craft and install the Durga idols at the venues. Yes, it is the time of the year which Indians all over the world, especially the Bengalis, celebrate as Durga Puja. Durga Puja is celebrated by Hindus to commemorate and celebrate the victory of good over evil. This festival marks the intense battle between goddess of power Durga against the ferocious demon Mahishasur. In the Hindu scriptures, goddess Durga is said to have fought Mahishasur for 10 days, which finally ended in her triumph. While this festival is celebrated by Hindus in India and beyond, it was in 2021 when Durga Puja gained an unprecedented global recognition. It was in this year Durga Puja was inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It is notable to mention that it is the first festival in all of Asia to gain such an illustrious tag. And why not? Durga Puja is a perfect blend of human effort, art, culture, and religion.
It is a festival which gives the harmony and all society. Not only the Bengalis, only devotees are coming here, on all non-Bengalis, even some other community people also they are visiting from several years also.
Besides a time of worship and rituals, Durga Puja is also a time of gathering of friends and families. This festival transcends the edges of India, and Hindus all over the world come together to celebrate in joy and bliss.
Durga Puja is a festival where people from all corners of life come together and pray for strength and the well-being of their families and friends. May this auspicious festive season be full of prosperity and happiness for you all. With camera person Ashish Sharma, this is Jayan Das, reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Indian Supreme Court will hear petitions today regarding the alleged irregularities in Tirupati Laddu Prasad procurement and distribution. The court previously questioned the state government on whether to continue the SIT investigation or transfer it to an independent agency. The first day of Sharadiya Navratri saw devotees gathered at the Jhandewala Mata temple in Delhi for the traditional Aarti, marking the beginning of the 9-day festival dedicated to the worship of goddess Durga. On to some business updates now. Update on U.S. stock market first. The S&P 500 ended little changed on Wednesday, with technology shares gaining, but investors nervous about West Asia tensions and more U.S. labor data due this week. Data released early on Wednesday showed U.S. private payrolls increased more than expected in September, further evidence that the labor market is not deteriorating. Investors remained focused on September non-farm payrolls data due on Friday. The S&P 500 gained 0.01%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.08%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.09%. The market ended September with strong gains after the Federal Reserve kicked off its monetary policy easing cycle with an unusual 50 basis point rate cut to shore up the jobs market. And U.S. President Joe Biden urged U.S. port owners on Wednesday to resolve the strike involving 45,000 dock workers that has disrupted shipments at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. A strike by 45,000 dock workers halting shipments at U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast ports entered its second day on Wednesday, with no negotiations currently scheduled between the two sides. The lack of progress is raising concerns among those reliant on shipments that the disruption could be prolonged. The International Longshoremen's Association union strike has blocked goods from food to automobile shipments across dozens of ports from Maine to Texas, which analysts warn will cost the economy billions of dollars a day.
There's a consortium of basically 6 owners that control all the ports from all the way to the East Coast down around the Gulf. And they've made incredible profits, over 800% profit since the pandemic. and the owners are making tens of millions of dollars from this. The last thing they need is to profit off of this. It's time for them to sit at the table and get this strike done.
Well, in sports, the ICC Women's T20 World Cup is all set to begin on Thursday with host Bangladesh going against Scotland in the opening game at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium. Bangladesh captain Nigar Sultana led the way as the 10 national skippers met in Dubai to mark the start of a tournament that will come to a conclusion in the same city on the 20th of October. Group A contenders, India will hope that 2024 is their year to a win-first ICC World Cup, having been runners-up 3 times in the 2020 T20 World Cup and the 2005 and 2017 50-over tournaments. Harmanpreet Kaur's side come into this event ranked 3rd in the world and have reached at least the semi-finals of the last 3 ICC Women's T20 World Cups. An annular solar eclipse shines a ring of fire over Easter Island, South America on 2nd of October. As the sun darkened over the island, people gathered outdoors, chanted, played music and wore special eyewear to catch a glimpse of the eclipse. Sky gazers were treated to a spectacular ring of fire eclipse lasting for a few minutes. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.